The ACLU has taken on some of the big issues related to freedom of speech and equal treatment under the law. I'm Abdi Soltani. I serve as the Executive Director at the ACLU of Northern California. The basic principle of the ACLU is that every person who resides in the United States is protected under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and our civil rights laws. And that person may be a very unpopular person. It might be a person that I would personally, not want to associate with. But we still believe that we should protect that basic right that each person has to their bodily integrity, to their ability to express themselves, to having due process under the law so that they cannot be incarcerated or have their property taken unjustly. Those principles are the principles that the ACLU stands for. When the ACLU was founded, actually, there were no times that the Supreme Court or the courts had ruled in favor of our free speech rights. And the laws that are, in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights were never challenged. They were never tested. So back in the 1920s when we were started, just a simple act of leafleting on a street corner that we take for granted today was not something that you could count on having. But there's one thing that all of these issues have in common, is that it's when young people stand up for their rights is when we can fight with you for your rights. If young people do not bring these issues to the attention of the ACLU or their local media or of other young people, it never becomes an issue that we can work with you on. When I was a college student, I was part of a group of students that was active supporting a community campaign against a toxic waste incinerator in California's Central Valley. And I was lucky enough to go on a victory celebration that the community organized when they won their campaign. And I remember seeing especially the women of that community who had led this effort and realized that social change happens when people work together towards a common goal. Up to that point, I always thought I should become the best expert that I can be, the best advocate for other people. And being there as a part of that victory celebration, I realized that social change is not done when people do it for other people. It happens when people achieve it together. Change is something that I think is kind of neutral. You can change in a good direction or you can change in a bad direction. You can change laws to expand opportunity or you can change laws to restrict opportunity. Change for change's sake is not something that we really get behind. And if anything, I think of the ACLU as being kind of anti-change. We want to really emphasize protecting the rights that were written into the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. And we don't think things like constitutions should be changed lightly. I really look at outcomes. And where I see really vast inequalities in outcome, I'm not persuaded that there was a true equality of opportunity. I don't think that we can legislate outcomes or that we need to prescribe outcomes, but I think outcomes are a great measure of opportunity. To me, social justice 2.0 is different than social justice, whether we called it 1.0 or didn't have a 0.0 at all. I think there are a few things that are changing society fundamentally, and they're changing the way we do our work. The first is just access to information. There's vastly more access to information now than there was in a previous generation. The second is who can create information and who and how can stories be told. I think that the phenomenon that comes into the internet now makes it vastly different in terms of the stories that are told and how they're broadcast. I think the change we're going through now is very similar to the change from before the printing press to after the printing press. I think it's similar to the change from before the telegraph to the telephone. And I think we're in a similar period of change, and that's going to dramatically change the way in which any social justice organization is going to do its work. I think that all of us in this program that are the pioneers for social justice through the Levi Strauss Foundation adhere to a model of leadership where our job is to facilitate the participation of others, in addition to providing the guidance and the insight that each of us can provide. We're not neutral just as conveners. We provide our ideas, we provide our insights, and the 5 of us together are going to learn a lot, share a lot, and through that build hopefully some new models of practice that we can benefit from and share with others.